Halo 1 through 3, Halo Reach, Halo ODST, Titanfall 2, most of the CODs, Gears of War 1 through 3, and literally most games before 2015. These are the shooter games most people think about when they think about great games they could play for months on end. But what happened? Most games today made by AAA studios are awful. Now, of course, there are definitely exceptions. But what did all these older games do right that modern ones aren't doing anymore? And more importantly, why do modern games keep doing it? And what's the solution? Well, that's what we're here to discuss today. I'm Randy from ESG, and let's dive in. One of the biggest things the greats had was great monetization plans. Not a single one of the greats has ever implemented loot boxes, battle passes, or scummy store items. Now, I'm not saying these games didn't have in-game purchases or additional items you can buy, because honestly, my gripe isn't with monetization and microtransactions, it's how they monetize it and go about it. So we have, for instance, Halo 5, the recent CODs, the new Gears of War, Battlefront 2, and so many more that include terrible loot boxes. Those are just a couple, though. But I don't care what anybody in this industry says. If you sell something that gives back a randomized reward to the player, that's gambling. You know what you do when you go to the casino? You give them money. You have a chance at a random reward or loss. It's almost identical. The only difference is, in loot boxes, you always get a reward. But it could be anything. It could be the legendary item, or it could be a shit item that you already have 10 of. But I think most of these modern AAA game studios have forgotten what business they are in. They're in the video game business, but they think they're in the gambling business. I think everyone is tired of it, honestly. And progress has been made, kind of, but many games are stopping to use loot boxes. As we all know what happened in Battlefront 2, they definitely stopped. However, though, a new evil is approaching over the horizon, more hidden and more money grubbing. The live service model, or battle passes, or whatever they want to call it. We know what they are. You pay 10 to 15 bucks, and you get access to more grinding, to more gear, and more cosmetics. But let me get this straight then. So on top of the typical 60 bucks a AAA game costs, I have to pay for that game. They want me and you to pay more money for the game after you've paid for it already, and then work for the rewards. What the f***? How does that make sense? And they're going to say, but you see, the game is free, so it makes sense. No, it doesn't. Right now, you don't need to pay 60 bucks, only 10. And, maybe, touche, okay. But there's still a way to defeat this, all right? Let's take a look at it. We got 3 great examples here. Battlefield 2042. The game costs 60 bucks. And then a battle pass releases every season for 10 bucks. Every season. So, what are they on? The 5th season now? So, on the top of the 60 you had to pay for the game, you have to pay $10 every season, $110 for the game's content. Now, you might say, well, Randy, the developer's making new content, so they need compensation. And I would agree. But what I have an issue with is when I pay full price for a game, and then they ask for more money for content within the game that I already paid for, and that you already paid for. And they're making us pay for content, too, that is in a previous iteration of the game that you never had to pay for. Cough, cough. Halo Infinite with skins and colors. Colors. They're making you pay for colors. What is this? Now, I don't necessarily have a problem with battle passes. They're a decent idea. The issue is, when the content is already in the game that you paid for, you have every right to it, or at least to get a chance at earning it in a meaningful way. Rise and grind, gamers. Not to mention, in previous games like Battlefield 1, you could earn almost all the cosmetics through earning in-game currency or challenges. Even when they added new guns, you could get almost all the guns. It was never against you. So why would they add a battle pass for features that were free previously? Well, it's a simple answer. They want more money. And they don't care about you, the gamer, anymore. If they did at all. Now these AAA games are more concerned with your money than your consumer happiness, which is what brought them the money in the first place. And they're getting away with it. But the worst part about it is we're letting them. You know what else did this? Halo Infinite. In previous Halo renditions, customization of your character came with the game that you paid for. Except when Halo 5 came out, they added loot boxes and monetized the cosmetics? But in Halo Infinite, they improved all of it, right? No. Not only do you have to pay $60 for the campaign, but in addition, you have to buy the battle pass, and on top of that, their store is absurdly overpriced. They are selling items and customizations that were previously free until Halo 5. They're selling colors. This is ridiculous. Now, I know this might be a little bit of heresy, but honestly, I would take Halo 5's loot boxes over Halo Infinite's monetization scheme, because at least there, you could earn in-game credits and then buy the loot boxes. You had a chance at least. But it's just so hurtful to Halo and the gaming community to just try and suck our money dry from 343 doing this. Now, obviously, we all know what is happening to Halo right now with 343 having their layoffs, but that doesn't give them an excuse. They've been doing this since launch of day one of Halo Infinite. For instance, you could only buy certain armor colors in store. At least in Halo 5, the colors were free. I can't believe I just said that, but it's so sad. I can't believe I'm praising up Halo 5 here compared to Infinite. This is a sad day. But enough about the colors, all right? I know. I'm griping on them. But moving forward, you know who also did something that was really scummy? Destiny 1. Now, let me preface. I have over 2,000 hours in this game. I loved Destiny 1 with all of its issues and faults, and I fell for every monetization scheme they could throw at me. And that's on me. But a lot of you probably did too, because I wasn't the only one on that game. Now, I like DLC. If you're going to demonetize something that's additional content, do it in DLC format, where you know what you are buying, and it isn't overtly expensive. And the most important part, it doesn't impede on the multiplayer experience. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Battlefield 4. For anyone who doesn't know, Battlefield 4 had DLC, okay? That's great. We love DLC. However, if you did not have the DLC, you couldn't play the multiplayer maps from the DLC with your friends on the multiplayer servers unless you bought the same DLC. But off that horse, back to Destiny 1. Destiny's DLC was so overpriced that Taken King itself was $40. That, my sir, is a whole ass game. Now I'll say this. The Taken King was awesome. $40 worth it? I don't know about that. That's kind of a stretch. But it was good. I'll give them that. But what's worse about this, what about Destiny in general, is when the game first released, people found the DLC maps they were already working on in the game, and they were just blocked by certain areas. Like you paid for partially the DLC when you bought the game. The maps were already in the game. So all you were buying when the DLC was unlocking these areas. It's kind of scummy. But my hugest gripe with Destiny, besides the overpriced DLC, was the actual content. Most of the DLCs were $20, but the amount of content in each DLC varied every single time. And there's this one thing I will never get over that I still feel cheated on. There was a game mode called the Trials of Osiris. If you played D1, which is Destiny 1, you know what I'm talking about. It was Destiny's version of competitive multiplayer, and it was freaking awesome. I was such a sweat, and I loved every minute of it. But you know what they did? They released it, and then they had the audacity in the next DLC drop to lock it for everyone who didn't buy the DLC, even though they already owned the game mode. Like, what? Bungie? So you're telling me I already can play this game mode in general, but then you're going to put out a DLC and now the game mode's locked? Explain that to me. But those are the big players that we really like to highlight. But in summarization, these monetization schemes, they suck. Now, on to the second big issue here. Live service model. I am so sick and tired of hearing this term. As soon as I hear live service model, I already know in my head the game is going to be junk. Just junkyard junk. Guaranteed 100%. Case in point, Battlefield 2042, Battlefront 2, Halo Infinite, the new COD games, and most of the AAA first-person shooters released in the past couple years. What a surprise. Now, if you don't really understand what the live service model is, that's okay. Let me explain it to you. I got you. In a sense, the game is released unfinished, with the promise of you, the gamer, that they will continuously release content and fix bugs, and it will be great. However, successful games using the live service model that did it correctly are Fortnite and Apex Legends. And that's about it. No other game has done it good. So when these big game franchises who have never used this model before switch to it for money reasons, the consequences are disastrous. Halo Infinite switched to this model, and they made the multiplayer free. And the game released so broken and lacked so much content, they got so much backlash for it. It was atrocious. It really was. And I know I keep bringing up Halo, but that's just the game I have stuck in my head because I love Halo so much. But just recently, the game pushed out Infection, a classic Halo mode that has been released at launch with almost every Halo. It took them almost 2 years to put this mode out that has come basic with almost every Halo. That's unacceptable, and all in the name of the live service model. This live service model is simply just an excuse to release the game early in order to start bringing in money now. The thing is so sad about this is that now everyone is used to this model and games being unfinished and monetized to hell at release. Everyone's used to it. It's normal now. It is the normalcy in peak modern gaming. Even a great classic franchise such as Tom Clancy's games, a classic shooter franchise that is, great childhood games, is now using this model. And I can tell you right now, it is killing that franchise into the dumpster. COD, the classic COD, everyone's beloved Call of Duty games, are now religiously switching to this live service model. And that is all they're doing. And they're sticking to it, apparently. At least what it seems for now. And the games have been released broken multiple times. Like, the only two that have not are Modern Warfare 2019 and Modern Warfare 2, the one that came after 2019, but it's not a remake. I don't know, COD, you're confusing me with your names. But I also have a lot of other gripes with COD. But that's for a different video. Not today. Destiny 2 switched to a live service model as well. And guess what? That game is slowly but surely dying with every DLC they release because it keeps getting worse and worse. Now, I gotta say, Halo Infinite and Battlefield 2042 are probably the most recent egregious live service model releases. They're at the top of my mind. They live rent free. But let's also take a look at another one, Cyberpunk. It was going to be a live service, and the game released actually unplayable. They wanted to do live service, and there was so much hype, so many promises, and the game was actually truly broken. Actually unplayable. It was insane. How could they do this? It was crazy. But if you don't really understand this, let me put it in a different way. Let's say you buy a brand new car, a Toyota, because they're reliable. It totes all these great features and the reliability. But after you buy the car, it starts breaking down every 1,000 miles. Oh, and it's missing a gas cap. It's missing the spare tire. The speedometer doesn't work. And the entertainment system, your little radio touchscreen thing, is now unstable and unusable. However, Toyota promised before they released that they would continue providing services to it and that you would enjoy it. But it came broken and missing very important features, like a speedometer and a gas cap and a spare tire. Those are pretty important things for a car, So how Toyota would never get away with this. You would be pissed. You'd ask for some kind of compensation or sell it, or there'd be a massive lawsuit against them. Now, I'm not saying anything bad against Toyota. I like Toyota, all right? They make good cars. I just picked them up as an example because they have reliable cars. But for some reason, we still buy these games, myself included, with the promise of continued service and content, yet they keep giving us lacking games that are broken. We have to stop buying these broken games. Otherwise, they'll keep selling them to us just the way they still are. But that brings me into my next point. The final gripe. Bugs. We hate bugs. But sometimes bugs are funny too. But there's a major difference between a bug and the game is broken. Those are two very different things. Like, holy shit, DICE. DICE, if you don't know, is the developers of Battlefield. Can you please release a game that isn't broken at launch? Maybe. Please? Like, the only Battlefield that I can physically remember in recent times that didn't release broken as crap was Battlefield 1. And honestly, in my humble opinion, is undeniably the best Battlefield game ever made. You can't fight me on it. If you disagree, you're wrong. So, what makes these AAA games think they can release a broken game at launch? Well, the modern era of bug fixes. So, let's do a little loop back. Back in the 2000s, when a game was released, if it had a bug, that was it. There was no fixing it. The game launched, that was the way it was gonna be forever. So AAA studios rigorously searched for and fixed bugs. They refused to release a game if it had bugs in it, or if it was broken in any way. So what makes these AAA games think they can release a broken game at launch? Well, the modern era of bug fixes. Let's take a little time travel, alright? So back in the 2000s, when a game was released, if it had a bug, that was it. There was no fixing it. The game launched, and that was the way it was gonna stay. So, AAA game studios rigorously searched for and fixed bugs. But then, all of a sudden, the rise of the great era of the 2010s came around, and these game companies started realizing with new technology, they could fix these bugs after launch. And it was awesome! These weird glitches that they could never fix, they could fix now. Until they started realizing they could release these games with bugs and just fix them later. And then we still buy them even though there are bugs in it. And they're abusing this beautiful new feature of fixing bugs post-launch. So no longer are the days of these developers tirelessly searching for bugs to fix. They just don't care anymore, at least. And they're getting lazy. But don't worry, they'll fix it later. Now, I'm not necessarily blaming the actual individual developers themselves. I know it's not their fault. However, the people managing these projects and the companies, EA, they are definitely to blame. They give these workers, these developers, these impossible deadlines to meet in order to raise profits. But that's the issue, though. The people making the decision do not care. They do not care about the game. They care about how much money the game makes. They care about the money. And they've forgotten the why that made them the money in the first place. Now, side note here, I'd highly recommend, if you got time, to go read a book called It Starts With Why by Simon Sinek. It's a great explanation of how companies stay profitable while keeping their morals intact and still caring about the original goal for when the company was actually created. The future of gaming. Now, I'm not going to lie to everyone. The future of first-person shooters is looking pretty grim. They all suck, and people are losing hope. The AAA companies aren't changing their ways. They keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. They've lost their passion for the industry they're in, and they've lost their why. I know I've been very negative in this video, but I do want to end it off with some hope. Some slight glimmer of gold to look forward to in the future. Our future hope for first-person shooters no longer lies in AAA studios, but now in indie studios. For instance, let's take a look at a recent one, BattleBit. If you haven't played BattleBit, highly recommend it. It's Battlefield with a Minecraft vibe, but way better than Battlefield. And that developer who made BattleBit is an indie studio. While the game has a strange art style, it has the mechanics of a AAA studio, and the dedication from that team that made that game is unparalleled, and their love for it is infectious. But the fall of the AAA studios is upon us, and the rise of indie studios will replace them. Indie studios now have the same resources like Unreal Engine 5, which is an incredible resource that most AAA studios now are using to make their games. So let's take a look. Look at Rust. That's an indie studio. Or look at Superhot. That was made by an indie studio too. Like, just go on to Steam, and you will be surprised at how many great games, great shooter games on there that are being made by indie developers and indie studios. Now, there aren't a whole lot of multiplayer ones, I'll say that. We have about BattleBit and Splitgate, and that's about it. But those are great. Those two games are great. But those are just the beginning. Honestly, I think within the next 5 years, indie multiplayer games, shooters specifically, are going to skyrocket. Including ours. Yeah, this whole video is just an advertisement. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. I'm actually very passionate about this in the gaming industry. But I do want to segue into this is I care about the gaming industry and the quality of these games. And that's why I created a game studio now. Because I'm so tired, and so many of my fellow friends and developers are tired of the crappy games that are being pushed out. And also because, why not? Who doesn't want to make games? So, when we finally release our first devlog, I hope you all enjoy it. And if you don't know what a devlog is, it's just a video that just shows our progress on the development of our game and gives a little bit of insight into it. And it also allows you to provide feedback and comments while it's early in development, unlike any other AAA studio out there. But I can promise you all right now all that our games that we will be releasing will not have these issues that I've just mentioned, because our games will be and are made by fellow gamers. And we will not sell out to big corporations and let them control us and control deadlines. Because we love a good time and we love killing bad guys. So, in the end, go support more indie games. Keep an eye out on us and other developers. Because these AAA studios, they're going to regret not doing what's best for their consumer. Alright, everybody. If you liked today's video, feel free to leave a like. Comment telling us what you thought. It would actually mean the world to us to hear from you. We really appreciate any feedback you can give. In the description is all our social media and our community Discord. Feel free to go join the Discord to stay up to date on our game, our YouTube, and communicate with us freely and provide any feedback you wish. This was our first video essay, so we hope you like it. Tell us the next topic you'd like us to go over. And otherwise that, we hope you enjoyed the video. Stay safe. This is Randy from ESG. Peace.